Hello and welcome to yet another uh, Sunday night of miniature painting. I guess it's Sunday. I've had a bit of a long weekend. Well, not so much long, just busy and a little bit hard. And yeah, that's neither here nor there. So today we will continue work on the Pistoleros from Malifaux's Guild faction. We have two of them here. There's a third one going out. Hey, Bill! Good to see you! So, we'll be continuing with these nice, lovely little models here. Get them in focus. And AJ! So AJ, how was work yesterday? You were busy, I guess. Oh yeah, just unpacking. See, this is the mess I make of my wet palette. But this is, on the other hand, oh Bill, thank you. So my very first subscriber. Thanks, Bill. Affiliate hype. That is absolutely true. I should give you something. I will write, and bits as well. All. There you go. Now, Bill, it's on the internet. No denying it, and AJ as well. I can never remember how you spell it. A-J-O. So, my first two subscribers. Thanks you guys. So, back to miniature painting. Basically the deadline for the Game Jam 2021 came and went. I didn't deliver anything, which is fine. I learned a lot. And that's basically was my goal with signing up, was just to go. Oh, nope. Need to see Bill's name. So anyway, the short version is that sometime Saturday, I basically decided that I was way too worn out. I've had 2 long weeks at work, mainly because work actually started making sense. But once it started making sense and being a pleasure to actually do my job, I love doing the things I do, and I finally got to a place where things just started working, and I can actually not be frustrated with not making progress, but instead just do things. And then, not this week, but the week before, there was a bit small family emergency. My dad had to go to the hospital, and that just ended up causing me to take some long drives back and forth to pick him up and go visit my sister to see how she's doing, and my nephew and stuff like that. So, but it's all good. He's definitely better. So, but it's just been 2 long weeks and 2 long weekends, and then sometime Saturday evening. Thanks, Bill. Sometime Saturday evening, I just decided that I did not have the headspace, frame of mind to actually finish anything decent anyway. So, and yeah, everyone seems to be doing okay. He's got this. They ran some tests. He's back home from the hospital, and yeah, and AJ's painting rant. It's what I do. So anyway. So I just decided that instead of trying to sort of furiously put something together that might resemble, I don't know, something, I figured it would be a far better use of my time to just hang out with you guys being Gladio and AJ, play a little Among Us. We got in a game of Vermintide as well. It's always fun. A little frustrated. It's always fun to go beat up some rats in the old world. So yeah, At least I got a nice car. Did I get a nice car? Oh, I have a nice car. Oh, yeah, sorry. I am still tired and can't really make sense of things, so it's probably good that I didn't do anything. No, but anyway, after we played Among Us yesterday, I went to bed, and I woke up a few times during the morning, but didn't actually get up until 2 o'clock in the afternoon or so. And then I just decided to, at that point I still had a few hours before the deadline for Game Jam, but seriously, throwing something together in a few hours just to be able to say, hey, I made this, not worth it. But the good news is I learned a lot during Friday and Saturday. I learned a lot about Unity and networking, the options you have for actually doing network games. So that was definitely a good thing. Also, I'm just touching these up a little bit before moving on to actual painting. And the car is very nice to drive in. It's very comfortable. Since I got these I guess I got the luxury edition or whatever you want to call it. So it actually has a really nice set of speakers in it, so I can actually enjoy listening to music when driving. It doesn't get all sort of scrambled or whatever. I can actually hear both the deep tones and the high pitched. It's called. I'm too tired. I probably shouldn't be streaming, but I will. So anyway, what are you guys up to today? Yeah, Bill, speakers, definitely a must. I mean, my dad and sister live about 130 or so kilometers away from me. So it is actually a bit of a drive going back and forth. And then I had to pick him up at a different hospital from the town he lives in. That just added another total of, I don't know, 30, 40 kilometers. So it's not like it's long, but I am still getting used to driving. So driving just about 300 kilometers in a single day, and then doing it again a few days later, that apparently wore me down a lot more than I had anticipated. So yeah, so I got really tired yesterday and decided to just call it quits. Why is this paint not covering anything at all? Except if I get it on the red, I'm pretty sure it will cover everything. So there we go. So Bill has been eating lunch. Then I have to prep for Tyrants of the Underdark stream on IP Twitch with Amanda Panda. Oh, when are you doing that? Bill, give us a time. 6 p.m. EST. So that's... Oh, you're making me work hard here, Bill. That's gonna be like way late, isn't it? 1 a.m. or so CET. Midnight. So in 5 hours. Yeah, that's gonna be at midnight here. Hopefully I'll be asleep by then. But if not, I will make sure to check to drop by. So yeah. So that's basically it. Now, what we want to do is we want to get these guys properly shaded, and for that, for the what do I use normally? I use my. Okay, so I actually decided to clean up my paint rack, and now I can't find anything. There we go. With paint rack, I mean this setup over here. So now I have almost all the bottles back in the right places and stuff like that. Did I? Yeah, I think that's okay. So I'm normally just keep, whatever paints I need, just keep them handy nearby. But yeah. So for this, here we're just gonna go for both the red and the pants. Again, we're doing slightly sort of speedy painting here. I should probably also have painted in their wee little faces first. That'll be later. Now, my next game of Malifaux is not tomorrow, but next Monday. So I have a little bit of time to finish these, and then maybe get started on my next crew, which I have only played with once, but is really fun to play with. It's basically the concept of that crew, the other crew, is unions. So it's the miners and steam fitters union. The effects they have are so hilarious. They'll have effects like, I think it's called an injured worker, something like that, which I can't remember the exact effect of it, but it just adds a little bit of control. So you kind of sort of restrict the opponent from what they can and cannot do. I actually just remembered, because my mind is slowly starting to work these weeks now. There's a series of effects in Malifaux that trigger when you have half your hit points or less. So when you're about to die, your grit ability comes into place. I mean, that's what happens when you're just hanging in there by your fingernails or whatever, and then your grits get activated. And it could be stuff like making you harder to wound. It could be stuff like giving you bonuses or whatever. But injured worker, the injured workers act, I think it's even called, try to sort of simulate how the unions are applying pressure to say that this guy was actually injured while working. So he's an injured worker, so his grit should be active, even though he doesn't actually have, he's not at half health. He just gets the bonus anyway, within a certain range or whatever. So it's that kind of a crew that really just messes up things all over. So yeah. Another thing they have is unionized, which is when enough of them are close enough together, they'll get bonuses. Again, there's all of this ganging up on people, which is of course not entirely what unions are. I think if you go way back in history, there might have been something to it, when you're talking about, the unions being very possessive about who could work where. But that's not what unions are these days, at least not here in old Denmark, where we actually do have a very strong and solid tradition for people being in unions, to the point where people claiming to be liberals and all those things, free market types, every man for himself kind of thinking, that those kind of people. And yes, they will say every man for himself, not every person for themselves, because they're often idiots. But then when you actually ask them, it turns out that a lot of them are actually in unions, which always strikes me a little bit of funny. So, and that just shows how common it is in Denmark to be in a union of some kind for anything like networking to skill improvements. A lot of them will have technical courses or even non-technical courses. I mean, I'm in the engineers union, and through them is where I learned stuff like speed reading and mind mapping techniques and stuff like that, which are on the surface not sort of normal engineering technical stuff, but it is highly useful for doing project work. So why not? It makes sense. It's there. I'm going to be swapping in and out because I only have 2 paint handles and I have 3 minis to paint. So you also have this guy coming up. It's got a bit more red. So yeah, so that veered off from games to unions in Denmark. Well. But anyway, we came from my other crew in Malifaux, Tony Ironsides, and they're basically miners and steam fitters. So we have so much fun, so many awesome miniatures. I assembled a bunch of them on stream recently, and they have what else do they have? I mean, in addition to that, they have a guy with a fence he has an attack called picket line or something like that. So again, that's just I don't know if it's his signpost that he's literally hitting people over the head with, or if he's sort of supposed to be running around with an actual picket line beating up people. I don't know. But we'll find out if I actually bring him to the game. I didn't use him in the first and only game I played with that crew. I hadn't assembled him. I went in a different direction. I got so many models for that crew that I can actually field almost 2 entire crews worth of miniatures. So I still have some assembly to do, and I have a lot of painting. I think I have like 12 models. And if you're a Warhammer gamer, Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 140k, whatever, I know 12 miniatures is not a lot to you guys. If I had said 1200, you might agree that it was a bit much. But yeah, different mileage. Shade it a bit. Well, we'll keep it fast. I don't know if 1200 might be overdoing it a little bit, AJ. But not much. I mean, your average 40k army, as far as I know, is what? Somewhere, if you're not doing Space Marines, which are expensive miniatures points wise in the game, I think you can easily hit 100 miniatures in a single army. But then again, most of those will be rank and file troops, and not standalone troops. So people have a tendency to paint them in uniform schemes, both in the uniform as in it's similar to other things, but also as an actual uniform. Say you're playing, they're not called Imperial Guards anymore. That's the closest thing to a regular army, I recall. You will have everyone wearing the same color, not the same insignia, it depends on rank, but just basically the same style of outfit. People will just line them up and they will do 20 miniatures so at a time, whatever they have in a regiment, and just go, okay, now you all have blue pants. Now you all have green shirts. Now you all have black boots. Now you're all shaded. Done. And move on. I need shading for his pants. I can't remember when I played Warhammer. I played 140k a little bit, not much. But I did play Fantasy Battle back in the 90s quite a bit. And I had a dwarf army. And I seem to recall that I had probably complete overkill, but somewhere along the lines of 2 regiments of 20 crossbowmen, 2 regiments of 20 spearmen, some war machines, some units, 10 people strong units of various fighters. So yeah, that if it wasn't 100, it was pretty close to 100 miniatures I would field in those games. And that. I never got all of them painted. I think maybe half of them were painted. Then I kind of stopped stopped playing as well. And basically what I did was, one of the other guys I played Warhammer with back then from high school, we just did kind of this, he just borrowed my army indefinitely. I'm pretty sure that if I talk to him, if he still has it lying around somewhere, I could probably get it back. But then again, why would I? It would just be more miniatures that I feel like I should paint. So anyway, looks like people are slowly dropping in. Welcome to newcomers. Don't be shy, show yourself in chat. Hey Kenpo, what am I using for shade? I will show you in just a second. Just need to actually plop the shade down here on his pants a little bit, just to get an even flow. Basically, I can of course tell you what it is. For this bit here, I'm using the Army Painters Strong Tone. Focus, there we go. And they are super awesome for shading. I have been known to say that I'm not a big fan of their paint. And in many ways, I still am not a big fan of it, for various reasons. But before Christmas, I actually did a test of one of their starter sets to see what can you get if you paint a mini using only a single starter set, just to see where you end up. That was a really fun challenge, and since I had actually gotten myself a fairly good shaker, I got I think it's called sort of a vortex style shaker. Oh, thanks AJ. It was a fun challenge. Now, with the vortex style shaker, kind of sort of swirls the paint around in the pot rather than just shaking it back and forth. I used a nail polish shaker for that in the past, and it didn't go well. But once the paints were probably shook up, they were actually really nice to work with for a few days, and then they settled again. And that's the main thing I have against them, is that they tend to settle in the pots really quickly, and it can be a pain shaking them up. Whereas the Citadel paints, they are really good at not doing that. At least they used to be. I think that might have changed a little. So they'll stay sharp, and you just take them, shake them by hand for a few seconds. Hi Emily, glad to see you. So yeah. But then again, the problem with the Citadel paints is that I've never liked their pots. They have this sort of open the lid to get to the paint kind of pot, not the dropper box bottles like Army Painter or Vallejo. And it's just difficult. I think when you want to mix up your paints. Oh. Okay, so John, the Amazon Fire Stick. Apparently, it is not a good vessel for writing. I think that is the conclusion we draw from this. But welcome. Glad to see you as well. So yeah. So anyway, the quick summary is that I really love army painters paint when they're probably shook up, which can be difficult to do. I really, personally, the best kind of paints that I like to paint with is actually citadels, but the pots make them so difficult to use. I mean, yeah, you can just take a brush and... Why did my lighting go all wonky? Oh, well, you can just take a brush and just dig out the paint, but it just feels like a waste because I end up bringing out way more than I will ever need, which I guess I do anyway with the looking at my wet palette. It's not like I use all the paint I actually dig out. Yeah, so but Vallejo's game color series, which we have some up here, I like them because they are in the dropper bottles. They're fairly easy to shake up. They work well. They don't dry out too fast. They have a good consistency, good pigments. So yeah. So yeah. By the way, speaking of Bluetooth keyboards, this is actually the one I'm using here at my painting desk. It's... For some reason, I've always loved Logitech's keyboards. I like the way the keys handle. So it's K400 Plus. This is not sponsored, obviously, since I'm nobody. But anyway, I like it. It's Bluetooth. It has the built-in, and that's actually the reason I got it. It has the built-in touchpad here, so I don't have to mess around with a mouse. It does mean that it's not a numerical numpad. But on the other hand, how often would I use that anyways? I mean, it's not a work computer. I'm not sitting here for hours programming on this setup. It's strictly to be able to switch scenes in Twitch and maybe do a few other small things once in a while, like setting up your OBS and stuff like that. So it's fine to do with the small keyboard. So anyway, that was a suggestion for those of you who are looking for a nice Bluetooth keyboard. Or is it? Let me think that. I actually think it's not Bluetooth. I think it comes with its own Logitech thingy. Look that up before you get one, John. I'd hate for you to buy the wrong keyboard, on my advice. So that's him shaded. On to the next. So one brand of paint I didn't mention was the scale color that I have two of them at the moment that I got because I had heard good things about them, and I must say I am not displeased with the paints themselves. There's a tendency to clog up the bottles. They're in dropper bottles, but the red is the red I'm using for these guys here. Now it's been shaded black, so it looks really dull. But it has a really nice nice red color, the one I got. And so yeah, probably can't even show you because all my other minis are downstairs. Oh, I'm driving way behind on chat. I will catch up in a minute. Just want to put some shade on his pants. Again, a reminder as always that I'm mainly painting these to get them ready for the tabletop, get them ready to play with them. I am not going for display quality. This is mainly to make them look good at arm's length. Yeah, contrast paints. I'm using that for the coat actually on these dudes here in a little bit. The coat and jacket kind of flows together into a single. I think it is one single piece of clothing on them. So it's just gonna get a big swash of a sort of reddish brown. It looks really well. So just soaking up a little bit of the excess paint, that shade that came out, just so it doesn't get too messy. So what are people saying, I haven't used the TV in the bedroom in years. Sounds like a good idea. Bedroom is for sleeping anyway, and other things. Just want to see if it still works. Do you have a wireless looking keyboard in the living room? And Kenpo bought two RI BT keyboards, Bluetooth, I guess. They work okay. The last I painted, assuming about paints is self-shaded. Was looking it up and can't seem to find the info. Yeah, Kenpo, that's the contrast paints that John mentioned. And how well do they work? Well, stick around for just a while and I will actually show you. So Kenpo, you have good zenithal highlight underneath. That is, it is not 100% necessary, but it is a good thing to have. The zenithal highlight, Kenpo, do you know that concept? You know it. Perfect. I actually find that zenithal highlighting, zenithal highlighting, I guess it's called, when priming the miniatures, it's actually pretty easy and simple to do. It's become my main way of priming miniatures these days. Of course, makes it a lot easier that I'm fortunate enough to have an airbrush. So I can just do it here in my room. I don't have to go down into the basement or outside with a rattle can or anything like that. Though you can make really good zenithals with a rattle can. You can also do good zenithals with brush on paints. Or actually by brushing on the paints that you would normally use in an airbrush, for instance. Just don't thin it down as much as you would for an airbrush. This might show an example of how to do that one day. So now I know the back of him here looks very messy and the color scheme is a little bit off, and I'm not sort of painting all the way up into this. But that's because he's got a huge, really nice looking flowing cape that'll come down behind him. So Kenpo writes, I was experimenting with dry brushing zenithal highlights as I found I had more control but did not research first. Okay. Yeah, if you think more control than with an airbrush, I would tend to both agree and disagree. I mean, you have a lot more control in the sense, and you can easier see where your brush brush goes on the miniature. So you can, in that sense, control the dry brushing or the highlights a lot better. However, once you're just a little bit familiar with your airbrush, then it becomes really easy. If you want, I can fire up the airbrush, find a miniature, and do it for you. Well, not for you, show you how I do it. That was stuff we needed to do on him. Okay, cool. Well, since I'm now curious, I will slowly throughout the stream, I think I will actually dry brush Senetal, a miniature that I have here. This is Mel, the terrain shooter, Mel Bose, who recently released a really good book about making terrains for war games. And along with the book came a miniature. So that's why I have one. Actually, I have two because I got two books. Why did I get two books? Because I'm silly and want to do a giveaway at some point. No, but let's do just for the fun of it. I'm as curious because I haven't done a proper Senetal highlight with dry brushing in quite a while. So what I'll do is I'll break out. I'll not be using my wet palette for this. I'll actually be doing this one instead. I have not watched Dana Howell. I will make a note. I've written down Dana Howell. I've looked at mainly what's this guy name? Brand from Goobertown Hobbies. Yeah, he's got some really good tutorials on paint stuff, and Sarastro also very good. I find especially with Sarastro, if you are painting the same things he's painting, like Imperial Assault or whatever he's got going and got good tutorials for, it's really good channel to watch. For hey Kenpo, thanks for the follow. See, I'm doing technical stuff, so now you get an alert when people follow. It's very fancy. So anyway, what I'm doing here is I am mixing up some, let's just get in frame, some of this surface primer, which I usually use in my airbrush, thin down a little bit with airbrush thinner and flow aid and stuff like that. Here I've just given it a little bit of normal thinner medium, like this. And let's see what happens. I have a nice big batch of that, and basically you just want to slob it on. I just need to figure out what brush I want to use for this. I'm actually going to go with a fairly large brush. A fairly large brush which I may have used. I'm applying actually quite a bit of pressure here. Apply a bit of pressure here, and I can't seem to sort of get the tip going. So I may have used it for glue. Let's see if I can soften it up a little bit. No, that's not gonna be useful for anything. At least it was a cheap brush. Let's go for the initial coat. And we can actually let's just look. I think it's gonna be good. I am not gonna outtake AJ. I don't think that's possible. So anyway, get a lot of the black on here. You see, it's actually may have thinned it down a little bit too much. See here, it kind of goes on like a glaze, and also I pop the miniature out, so I guess this one goes down into the small base size here. But anyway, thin paint is also paint. It's just gonna get a layer more in a little bit. I'm just gonna you know, keep adding layers to him throughout the stream. We'll see where we end. Also, this brush is not good for getting in between his legs. Yes, that's what I said. I stand by it. Anyway, first coat. I mean, it's still very shiny, and you see it kind of works like a glaze. Well, Modifian, of course that got your attention. Why am I not surprised? Welcome to the party. Oh, oh no, oh. That's gonna bring so much fun to the IP Discord. Oh dear. Oh no. What have we done? Anyway. While Mel is off drying, I should actually dry him. So that's the thing I've found, you know, when applying large amounts of very fluid paint, dry the miniatures upside down is actually a really good idea. Because I know it goes a little bit against the whole concept of, you know, shading and the recessed parts and highlights from above. But yeah, who cares? Mel, go over here and take a rest. By the way, Mel, also known as the Terrain Tutor, awesome guy, fun to watch, lots of humor, lots of passion for what he does. Generally, also, I've seen a few interviews with him in other contexts than terrain painting, and he just seems like a really, really, really nice guy. So, on with the main stars of tonight. And you know, I think I'll actually head straight to the contrast paints. So now we have the major parts all done, and the contrast paints are going to be a little bit messy, most likely. Let's get this one out of the way. Oh yeah, I know why you would think that, Kenpo. Because they really do have that sort of Western style gunslinger, which isn't surprising since they are known as pistoleros, and they do come from a world that is a mix of old sort of Western, Wild West style, combined with Victorian horror, with undeads, with resurrectionists, with illegal magicians, magic users, with kung fu monks, with so many things. It's a really, really crazy world, the world of Malifaux. And these particular ones from the faction called Guild are even more crazier than, well, no, they're actually not more crazier than the others. The others are downright scary crazy. But that's sort of a, I like to think of them as sort of Mexican / Southwestern US bandits, even though they're supposed to be force kind of police force of a sort, but it's sort of a self proclaimed police force. So anyway, yeah, Kenbo, this is the contrast paint straight out of the pot. So you can see how it goes, and you see already now, you see how it begins to settle into the recesses. And essentially, the contrast paints, it's not a new concept. It's just a matter of how they mix the paints and delivering it pre-mixed like this. It's probably a new thing to just buy it in a bottle, but a lot of people have done things like this for a while. Goobertown Hobbies on YouTube has a really good tutorial where he basically, and this is a really important thing to note about it, well, any craft or art project, what he does in that video is he says, well, it's time to experiment, it's time to learn something. So he talks about how Games Workshop, Citadel made these contrast paints, and he figured, well, let's play around with normal paints. Hey Rex, Um, glad to see you, Rex. So he talks about how the contrast paint works, and then he does a comparison between different styles of mixing up, with some mixing mediums, some water, different. I think it does different ratios as well, and finds something that is actually pretty good and easy to make. Now the problem with that is, of course, you have to mix the paints instead of just buying a standardized color. What I like about buying the standard colors is that you can go down and buy a new pot when the one you're working with is empty, and you will actually get the same color and the same ratio of medium to pigments and all those things. They have that very much under control. I would hope and assume, and think they have a good track record for that. So that's a good thing. However, they are expensive. I don't like to use swear words, but I think the term expensive as fuck applies here, and is actually a slightly diplomatic way of saying it. But as you can see, I actually got a little bit too much down here. You can see how it flows over his cape here. And it's just a single layer. And I need to do I'm a little torn actually about the inside of his coat. I mean, it's wide enough that I should do something about it. Yeah, it is. I can see from this angle. But it is, since I actually glued it on before painting, which I highly regret, it is going to be a little bit tricky getting to all the lower parts. I'll catch up with chat in a little bit. One of the things to know about working with the contrast paints is that you have to work fairly quickly. It's not my best quality when painting. I'm usually fairly slow. But the thing is that once the contrast paints start to settle and dry out, it is more or less impossible to fix small mistakes. And if you don't have it sort of flowing nicely from one area to another, it can look really terrible when you try to get more of it painted. So let's say I only painted half the cloak, then did something else and went back and did the other half on the outside. It would be really visible where I actually went from one to the other. But oh, Modifian, thanks for the sub. Thanks, Rex. And for the Chia Bladio, thank you. So Modifian writes, I want to get better at role-playing in D&D. I know you watch a live stream of a group. Who are they? My dad recommended a group called Critical Role, I think, but I am not sure. Well, Modifian, the absolutely best advice I can give you for that, I will show it right here. Go watch listen to the incorrigibleparty.com. Go listen to their podcast. They've just released episode 117, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, those are the ones. And in the early episodes, they actually do explain a lot about how D&D works. Oh, corpse! Hello! Another guy with a wonderful beard. So yeah, Modifian, go check out the IP podcast. And Emily with the subscription, thank you. Now, as I've said before, and I will happily say it again, we are actually fortunate enough to have, I think, 4 people from the Incorrigible Party currently active in chat. And oh, you got one from Miss Cam as well. Oh man, this is going all. Thanks guys. And more cheers from everyone. Thank you. Gladio, AJ. I can hear the blings in my headphones actually. So I may have that turned up way too loud, but it's okay. This is my first stream as an affiliate streamer. I hit that mark yesterday, and I couldn't have done it without you guys. And the funny thing is that this really just started out like so many other things start out like something else. RX, more bits, thank you. No, it started out as me wanting to paint more miniatures, but realizing that I'm really terrible at making making appointments or dates with myself and just say, hey, I want to stream. I work far better if I have sort of an external motivator. That is also to be a little going to be a little bit personal. It's part of some childhood trauma that I'm trying to deal with, that I never really got to, set my own goals. I never learned that as a child. It was always about what other people expected of me. That's where I ended. There's a lot of things behind that, of course, but it is what it is. So instead of trying to go too far into saying, hey, I just need to do my own goals and all that, I figured why not actually use the things I can do well. Like if I tell someone that I will be streaming miniature painting every Wednesday and Sunday from 7 p.m., then I know that I will feel obligated, kind of sort of forced to do it. Thanks, AJ. And then I'll actually get it done. And then over the last couple of months, it's just become not a thing I felt like I had to do, but a thing I really loved doing. Really wonderful. I look forward to these evenings, partly because I get miniatures painting, but also because of you guys. And the reason I even considered streaming, because as I told some of you yesterday when we talked about it, 6 months ago, if anyone had said, oh, you're going to be streaming things live on the internet, I would have gone, no friggin' way, never ever. But about 6 months ago, I actually started talking to Bladio, who's also here, and AJ and the other people from Incorrigible Party. And some of them started streaming board games and video games. And I figured, hey, it is actually not as scary as when you're watching, for instance, edited YouTube videos, which is really high quality. And there's a lot of community stuff going on, a lot of people talking, and it just felt like a really, really fun way to hang out with awesome people and good friends. So I figured, hey, that might actually work. And so I came up with the idea of doing this, and me being, I know I sometimes say that all this newfangled technology is way too much for me and so on, but I am kind of a technical minded person. So having an excuse to learn a little bit about microphones, cameras, playing around with them, configuring everything, getting it up and running, working with using Streamlabs, OBS, all those things. To me, that's just fun. It's just a fun bonus on top of everything else. So that was basically my path to getting started with streaming, and you guys showing up, giving so much support and love, and well, me getting miniatures painted is also, of course, a big part of it. And I just figured, hey, why not continue? And then all of a sudden, I hit 50 followers. Then I hit affiliate. I'll catch up with chat in a little bit. As I said before, these are contrast paints. In contrast paints, you need to work fairly quickly, unless you want to have the entire paint job screwed up. So yeah, I'll just quickly do the inside of his coat. And then I'll see what all you lovely people have been writing in chat. See, the inside here is, I'm not going to be, generally speaking, I'm not very careful when doing contrast paints, because it mainly just settles on its own. But doing the underside of this coat, or cape, I think it's going to call it cape, in memory of the Invincibles and the no capes scene. So, anyway, my path to affiliate came from me trying to trick myself into painting more miniatures, to you guys being absolutely awesome, a lot of people following me, and then all of a sudden I actually hit the 50 followers. And ironically, it was right after I'd taken a 3-week break over Christmas, so I didn't have the number of hours streamed and number of individual days streamed. That didn't happen until yesterday. See here, this might actually mess up a little bit because I've got too much contrast paint on here, so it's pulled a little bit down. It's also a bit too much on this recess. I shouldn't be doing this, but I cannot help myself. I think I actually mostly managed to pull it off. Yeah, so Kenpo, this is what a quick layer of contrast paint will do for a miniature. And uh-oh, how far behind am I now? So okay, Hype Train, thank you. more bits from AJ. Modifian go laughing, yeah. More from Rex. Oh, so much love in the channel. Thank you. Thank you, John, for the subscription. Was that the first John sub ever? Wow, I'm proud. Even if it isn't your first, I'm still proud. Red said he's so glad we found you. You're awesome. Best beard and your vibe is so chill and we love it. Yeah, thank you for dropping by. It's a good reminder that one night when I was painting, Sunday night, all of a sudden, Miss Chameleon and Rex and the others joined in with far more viewers than I had ever had before. And they had been sitting around watching Cam do some really, really beautiful Christmas cards. And yeah, they wanted to see some more art instead of games. And they somehow managed to come across me. Oh, hey, we have lots of weird stuff going on. So yeah, the horde demands glued flesh. Oh dear. But I will not be gluing my fingers together. I will instead do the other cape. Boink. So, as I said, this is the reason I'm not doing his back in that much detail. It's gonna have this cape glued to him later on. So, yeah, cool, Kenpo. See you. Okay, so much things happening. People want me to glue there. Do you really want me to glue my fingers together? Okay. So we have options. So we're going to glue the things I do for love. So, now, the thing to note about this, and don't try this at home, kids, this is a completely silly thing to do, but I'm doing it for Modifian, and the rest of you, but mainly Modifian. The thing is, it's PVA glue. Doesn't stick that well to fingers, or at least not as quickly as if I had used super glue. Ha! Take that. There you go. That is my fingers glued together. Let's get on with some serious painting. I satisfy you completely. Modifian, do we need to have a chat with your wife at some point about this? Hey, Woin. Welcome to the party. Hanging out, having fun. People are going completely nuts, which is great. And we're working on this stuff here. So, I mean, this year, it's gonna be hell taking off this matchstick here. I hadn't really thought that through when I glued it on. But I guess I can just cut it away, grind it down a little bit. Besides, it's going to go on the inside. At least I remember to glue it on the part where it's going to be glued to the miniature anyway. So it doesn't matter if I make a mess of things in that area of the cape. But as you can see, the inside of the cape going so much easier. So there you go. Maybe a little bit of touch up here and there, a little bit extra here. Basically, again, I know Kenpo just left. But again, that's the thing about the contrast paints that I do love. Is that it really, really is easy. I am also sitting here holding this because I have nowhere to put it, and I don't want to mess up the points of the cape. So, can I be creative? Yeah, I am creative, but can I be creative enough to actually put this somewhere? No? Whatever. I'm just gonna sit with it for a second. No, now what? If she cared, she'd be in your chat. You are right about that. And Wohin, you were here all along. I had not noticed you. Things got a little crazy before. Sorry about that. And yeah, she does, Modifian, your wife does a Discord hussies, and I'm your Twitch hussy. And you're getting your fingers sticky for me. That is true. You win. Well, Rex, welcome to a normal night of entertainment with Modifian. I should make an honorary stream for you at some point, Motive. When the restrictions are lifted, Modifian, you should also come out here and paint a miniature. I think that would be fun. So. I think that'll have to do. Can lie over there. Dry out. So how far did Mel go? I think he is... No, he's not entirely dried up. But you can see he's actually kind of sort of more grayish than actually black, because I managed to thin it down a lot. But yeah. Oh, yeah, of course you can, but if I can do this, and you can too. Would I actually trust my stream to your potty mouth? That's a good question. I think I would, but I also think I would regret it. So probably best to not do it. Now, next up on these guys are their hats, which I completely forgot. See, this is how much I'm distracted by you guys. You see this very small, insignificant, hard to miss white hat that should have been the same brown as the coat. You can see how I would easily miss that if I'm just distracted enough. So let's do a quick round of that. Now, another word about contrast paints is that if you, for instance, have a board game where you want the miniatures to pop a little bit more, stand out, contrast paints is a really good way to go. I mean, even if you're not painting in the different areas of the model, just giving them a single coat of a single color, excuse me, can really do wonders. Last year, me and some friends actually did that for another friend that we play Cthulhu Wars with. And Cthulhu Wars has these absolutely gorgeous, huge, massive miniatures as part of the game. That's part of the concept of the game. And of course, it only works because the game itself works as a board game. I highly recommend it. It's great fun. And we just love playing the game. And the guy we're playing with, he has a thing for all things Cthulhu. Yeah, the cape. I mean, look at the cape. And again, as I've said so many times, I could keep saying, this is not supposed to be, looked at, but I cannot. I mean, you can see it a little bit here, too close for the camera to really focus. But the zenithal highlight underneath is what gives the really dark parts at the bottom. But if you look at the top, with the ridges being lighter than the recesses, that's the contrast paint doing that. And again, on the front. I mean, the front of this guy got the thing going down the middle, which probably should have gotten a different color. I don't care. It's not supposed to be looked at this closely. We're actually going more along the lines of something that looks good at this distance. And look at the way he's standing there. I mean, you can see the flowing parts of the cape. So that is the goal I'm aiming for. And I can also see that I have cheated so many of you. You are all so awesome. Yeah, the bottom looks dirty. It looks... That's a concept. Okay, so... there you go. A heart within a heart. So yeah, I mean, actually a lot of the people here are also streamers. Gladio, AJ, Rage, Corpse Throat stream computer games from time to time. Emily and Good Enough Party stream board games. I mean, a lot of you people are also in the Incorrigible Party. Again, I can only recommend that if you like D&D, you know what? Let's just put this in here as well. Just stay there. Stay incorrigible and stay in frame. Little sticker. Go there if you like D&D. It's really, really great podcast. And Modifian, you should check it out. I actually re-listened to the first few episodes. And two things is that, yes, Bill, I know we talked about this at some point, and I have actually said that I really enjoyed the high quality of your audio right from the beginning. I re-listened to episode 1. I'm gonna have to agree, you had some mic problems back then. Still easy enough to hear what you were saying. And yes, the Discord. John, throw a link to the Discord, or someone throw a link to the IP Discord. I do not plan on running my own Discord server at any point. But it gets better. You learn it. But Modifian, the reason I want you to actually start listening to that, in addition to the podcast being awesome, is that I also forgot him completely. Well, more contrast paint. No, the first episodes, or first chapter, they actually... we're way too much fun. And Modifian, we actually also play Among Us once in a while. Usually after your bedtime. And Modifian goes to bed early because she is such a well-behaved and nice little girl. She would never stay up late. She would never say anything foul. She is the epitome of well-behavedness. No, but the first episodes, they actually go through character creation. They have all the questions about how does D&D work. They talk a lot about what can you do and what can't you do, both from an action point of view, but also in terms of what are role-playing games, what are good things to do. And the first many episodes, they actually explain what goes on to the listener. And in addition to that, and this is one of the things that made me fall for it, is the DM, Leland, who is, I think, not currently present, off doing more important stuff. He's actually running a really, really good campaign, which is in more sort of an open world style campaign that I really like. So you will not be hearing a lot of board gamey style dungeon crawls, as much fun as they are. There's a lot of action, there's a lot of NPCs, there's a lot of interaction going on. There's the very long-lasting plot that expands over 117 episodes now, plus an additional almost 40 after parties. So it's a really good place to just go in, listen to the early episodes where they talk about, you know, the world, how they created the characters and the background information for them, and all those things. It's a really good source of inspiration, really good place to get started if you're new to the hobby of tabletop RPGs. And seems like, from what I just glimpsed in chat, that you have already joined the Discord server. That is awesome. We have the Diamond Head Adventures campaign, is that what we're calling it? I think it is. Which is a very open world, multi-DM, multi-party or cross-party. We're gonna come up with some really, really crazy terms for this at some point, I guess. But basically, it's a world where we'll all have probably more than one character, you know, on the different tiers of play in D&D. Yeah. So many other things, so much fun, and multiple DMs. You can set up your party across, not across, with whoever wants to play, is what I'm trying to say. So get a group together, find a DM, and go play something. Then it'll all be logged in a site called Obsidian Portal that we use for keeping track of adventure logs and characters. We use D&D Beyond for the actual character sheets as well and stuff like that. It's all explained in there. But the idea is to make a community where play will be very autonomous and very driven by what the players want to do. So it can be something as simple as a player noticing something while on a party. So let's say you go somewhere and the DM maybe casually says something like, in the distance you see a tower, and then they go off to do whatever they want, you know, that party. But then one of them mentions, hey, I saw this party at some point, tower at some point, to the other players. And then we have a live role-playing chat channel in there where people are encouraged to share these things and talk about these things. Hopefully that means that another group will be interested and say, hey, that tower you mentioned, where was that? And then hopefully people will go off and say, hey, we want to go there. And then someone who wants to DM or has an idea about what goes on out there will say, hey, sure, I can run a quick scenario out there. You find a time, you find a place, well, place being online at the moment, and off you go. So what do we do here? We go for some black, because we have... Oh, Modifian, if you think Bill is glorious now, wait until you see him on screen. Which you should, he's fun. And yes, Bill, the drop-in, drop-out thing is part of what attracted me to it. Sort of more casual way of playing, just going, hey, I wanna play something. Who's up for playing? And yes, Bill is running the Discord, and he's doing a really great job of it. So, now for the fun part of making small things black so I can make them metally in a little bit. Oh, we should all probably also check up on Mel miniature and see if he's ready for the... Well, actually, Kenpo left. I was doing the sentinel highlight for him, really, so we'll do that later. Emily, did you just change loving to welcoming? Because I think Discord is both, actually. No, but... how many adventures have I actually run so far? I've been completely out of the loop. As I mentioned earlier, the last couple of weeks have been somewhat stressful for me. So I have not done a good job of keeping up to date, which I feel bad about. Getting back to these sort of external obligations or whatever. I got very involved in the beginning, and then I just disappeared for 2 weeks. Sorry about that, guys. So yeah, a few adventures. So we're still not sort of at a point where we've, I don't know, reached critical mass or whatever. But that also means that you can join up and help make that happen. So you can be part of the beginning of all these, this crazy thing we've started up. There's a bunch of stuff in there about, you know, resources and some links to articles and YouTube videos about what this style of campaign is. We've changed it a bit because I think the articles mainly talk about a setting where they have a single DM. So, okay, Rex, go do your stuff. Have fun. And Rex, don't forget Vermintide at some point. Can someone give a big shout out to Rex? Tomorrow Eve I might be. I don't know if I have an appointment or not. If I don't, I'll poke you. I will see you later, Rex. Have fun. Have a great evening. So yeah. So what we're doing here is just quickly touching up the guns, sword, actually the sheet of his sword now and stuff like that. So we can give it a metallic finish. And what I like doing with the metallics is just dry brushing it on really quick. It gives a very nice finish. So yeah. Oh yeah, poking on Facebook. Yeah, that was when Facebook was something quite different from what it is today, I guess. But yeah, these things change. That is the way of things like that. Okay, I need to focus a little bit on this because I am at the point in the evening where my hands are starting to get really shaky. So I should probably not be doing any fine details like the faces tonight. I will stick to the guns here, dry brushing them a little bit in after that. And yeah. I see for the handle here on his sword, sorry. Normally I would actually do different colors if I was doing like, if I was painting up a miniature for role-playing games. We don't really do the whole battle map thing in the groups where I play in real life. We've never done that. We have other things we prefer over that. But what I like to do in the past was to find a miniature that resembles my character. And then paint it up as sort of a good luck charm. of sorts. So I would have it, in front of me while playing, not really using it on a battle map or anything like that. But still, just having it there always felt good to me. So I have somewhere a bunch of miniatures resembling these characters, and for those things, or those miniatures, I would put in a lot more time on the details to get everything just right. But these guys here, nah, not really necessary. They just need to, as I said, look good at a distance. I say that way too often, don't I? So this means painting in the metal parts in his boots. The second you give it a little bit of metal, it's going to stand out really nicely. Give a nice sort of shininess and in contrast to the brown leather boots and the dark green pants, khaki pants. I don't know what the colors are called. But if I saw you wrote something in chat, I will get to it. Modifian writes, I love getting miniatures and making characters to go with them. Some of my favorite roleplay characters came from miniatures once. That is a really good source of inspiration for your characters. Get a miniature, paint it if you paint them, and then look at it and say, who are you? Talk to the miniature. Just like when writing, you reach sort of this flow state where it doesn't really feel like you're thinking about what you're writing, but something still comes out. And I get the whole term of being visited by your muse, or channeling, or whatever people call it. And I've written stories in the past, which I have to some degree. The best part was actually hitting this flow state where I'm not really conscious of time. I often don't even see, quote unquote, I don't see the computer in front of me. I can more or less do blind typing by now. I've lived in front of his computer keyboard for 35 years or so, ever since I was a child. So just sitting and typing on a keyboard is something that just comes natural to me. So I can actually see and think in images while writing out those images as quickly as I can, which is fairly speedy. And I've thought about doing it at some point as a test. Just do a live stream of me writing, which is probably not going to be very fun to watch. But when I do hit that flow state, I know from past experience that over about half an hour or so, I can actually get more than 1,000 words written. There will be spelling mistakes and there will be terrible grammar, also terrible glamour, but it will be vaguely coherent and it will advance whatever plot I'm writing on. Now, it requires me to actually know the characters I'm writing about and the setting and all that. So, I don't know. It might be a fun exercise. Yeah, thanks, Bill. And it comes from me having typed so much on computers that I don't have to think about hitting the keys. I don't have to think about all those things. I can basically just type. And then the really, really wonderful switch, which I rarely notice because that's sort of the whole thing that happens, is that I switch out of looking at my keyboard, going, oh, what should I write? And sitting there, looking at each individual word I type. And then all of a sudden, I'm just in this fictional world. I see the characters, I see what they're doing. I notice who's where, who's sitting at a table, who's standing up, and all those sort of things. and then I just let my fingers flow and type as quickly as they can. It's the same when I'm reading novels. At first, I will, again, quote unquote, I will look at the page, I will read the words, and then I'll slip into a speed reading mode after a little while, where I don't move my eyes as much. I don't follow the line. I don't switch my eyes from word to word or letter to letter. I usually have one, maybe two stops when it's going well. I have one, maybe two stops per line for my eyes, and then take in the entire line and somehow still manages to sift through the information, and get at least the majority of meaning written there. For me, that's a really, really great way when reading fantasy and sci-fi novels that are not too heavy and not require too much thinking, but just mainly sort of action-paced ones. Just shooting through them like that, because then I get all the action, I get all the major points, and I read really quickly. But finding out that I could do the same when writing, a little slower, of course, because I actually do have to type the words at some point, and I cannot speak coherently enough, apparently, to dictate it, although that would be really cool, I guess. So hitting those, I think I can hit, when all goes well, my top speed is about 2,000 words per hour, and I don't think I can keep that up for, well, not more than about half an hour or so. But that's still, that would be what? I mean, it would only be about 3 pages in a standard paperback novel, so that means 10 minutes per page to write it. That's going to be way slower than what people would read. Yeah, anyway. John says, gotta head out. See you soon. See ya, John. Thanks for dropping by. And Sebastian is ready to head down to the old lumber mill when you are ready. Oh, thank you. That is a reference, of course, to the Diamond Head. I drew up a quick map, drew in a lumber mill, and one of the first things someone says after I'd posted the map was, why is there a lumber mill without a river next to it? Does that make sense? And I went, yeah, I had not thought about that. But that just became an adventure hook, because maybe there was a river down there at some point. I think I did mark it as an abandoned lumber mill, so maybe the river shifted through magical means. I mean, we are in a fantasy D&D setting here, so something, heck, in our real world. If you're leaving as well, see you around. I will try to join you for Tyrants later tonight, but I might be asleep at that point, because I haven't got enough sleep yet lately. No, but I recently, shifting rivers, I recently saw a really cool picture, also sad in many ways, but really cool picture from somewhere where you have a bridge located not on a river, but right next to a river, simply because some sandstorms or whatever, that, something like Panama or whatever, sort of sandy area, huge storm, moved, basically dug a new river next to the bridge, and sort of, clock, this is where the river used to be, here we built the bridge, and then the storm comes in and just shifts the river 50-60 meters. Now in Diamond Head, on the map, the river was not even close to, so something more than that must have happened. But I mean, if that can happen in our world, what can happen in a fantasy world? And let's skip the whole, should you just explain everything by saying, oh, it's magic, period, and then go away, or should you try to make some of the laws of thermodynamics stick and so on. I'm perfectly fine with never even explaining it away as being magic, but just accepting that weird things happen. Just go with the flow. Now Moses, he didn't he didn't really move the post-stream rat killing tonight. Oh, we can do that. Yeah, let's go kill some rats after the stream, which is soon. So yeah. But Moses, he more sort of divided the river, and besides it, he put it back in place afterwards. See, nice guys. I'm guessing Moses was kind of a nice guy. Put rivers back into place once they're done playing with them. Remember that, kids. Clean up after yourself. It's polite. So, Modifian, we don't expect you to clean up. That went surprisingly well. Let's just do the tip here. I guess I should actually make the sheath of the sword some kind of color. Probably just make it brown. And again, regarding color theme for these guys, I know I'm talking about only doing them tabletop ready, but on top of that I have actually consciously given them a not too fancy theme, because these are kind of soldiers. They are typically out either hunting outlaws or being outlaws themselves, or sometimes hunting monsters. So they're basically people who don't want to stand out too much. They don't want to be visible from afar. They want to be pretty nasty when you're up close, actually talking to them in a saloon or whatever. But outside of that, my impression of them, the way I want to, let's just call it roleplay them, even though it's a miniature skirmish game, the way I want to roleplay their position is that they don't want to be too visible, because that is going to be a bad thing for them. They want the heavy dark brown dusters. I mean, these are people who have metal guards on the front of their boots. And it's not just to look cool, it is because they actually need it from time to time. So yeah. So because of that, I chose to have them in fairly dull colors actually. I mean, even the red is sort of a toned down red. But hey, that is what's called creative license. That's the creative choices you can take when painting miniatures. You just say, this makes sense in the setting that they're in. Why would they run around having bright yellow colors and big blue plumes in their hats when all they really do is hide out in dusty territory, trying to not be found while they ambush someone else? I mean, if you want fancy, flowing, brightly lit capes and stuff like that, go visit the old mercenaries in sort of central Germany back in the 1400s. They had a very interesting tradition for mercenaries to, when they wanted to build their reputation, part of that was actually being visible. The warfare was quite different then from now. They wanted to be known. They wanted to have their mercenary company name known and recognized. And recognized didn't mean posting images on Instagram back then. Being recognized meant, oh, they're the guys with the tall yellow hats or red plumed helmets or whatever. So that was their thing. There you go. So black on there, there. Some more black on the last guy. It's so tempting to buy a third painting handle, but it's not that often that I actually do work on 3 miniatures at a time. I also need some water. Gladio has to lurk a bit while I do some chores, so happy to be able to finally throw my bits as you can. Congrats. Thank you for the bits, and thank you for the subscribe, thank you for all the love, Bill, and for the inspiration. So, on to guns and boots. And after the guns and boots and this guy, oh, and the sword, I will find a channel for us to raid. If any of you have any suggestions, let me know. Oh, thanks, Bill. So are you. So all the young kids are dropping out. Yeah. Boots done. It's actually interesting because I'm trying to sort of... more games, please. Is currently the streamer. Okay. I will check if he's streaming when I'm done. I'm not sure I follow him, but should be able to find him anyway. Him, her, they, them, whatever. I don't know them. Oh, it's Ross. Right. I haven't really seen much of what he does. For some reason, I never really catch his streams. Maybe because if he's streaming now, when I'm also streaming, then that kind of makes sense. I don't know. We will find out in a little bit. First need to finish up the guns here. Gun there. Sword. I mean, technically, I think he has a second gun somewhere, but I can't find it on the model. Oh, board games. That's cool. I will go check it out, Bill. Thank you. Enjoy the chores. Say hi to the puppers for me. I look forward to them having puppies again. That was so cute this summer. So, I think that was mostly it. I mean, again, part of me really feels like he's boring to look at, but at the same time, he's also actually looks pretty cool. I I think the boring part comes from me being so used to the concept that miniatures, painted miniatures, should have so many details, and every little single bit should be like a small artwork in itself. And I kind of go, sometimes it makes sense, but at the same time, we're talking about practical people here, running around in the wild. They're not gonna wear, their grandma's super nice jewelry while out in the field. So, did I get all the black done on all 3 models? Yeah, I think I did. So, so I will start looking for a place to raid, and I will say thank you for joining tonight, my first affiliate stream. I really, really appreciate so many of you dropping by. It has been, as always, an absolute joy having you here. And I hope to see all of you again soon. See, we have the Key Frogs online, but more games. Please. He's streaming with a bunch of people. And while we wait for the stream, the raid to begin, let me just mention once again that we have been listening to the wonderful music of Adrian van Ziegler. Very talented, very cool guy. So, yeah. And Bill didn't end up lurking. Well done. Anyway, it has been so much fun. So Bill, you get to raid. Lots of people get to raid. It's, as I said, been an absolute joy having you here. Have fun, stay cool, and keep painting.
We want to search her? We could search her. Oh, we're getting raided, everyone. Watch out. Skjarm is raiding us. Thank you very much for the raid. Am I cool now is the question asked. We're playing Detective City of Angels. You're very much welcome. This is the last stream in the Tabletop Live network, sponsored by the OP. Welcome. We're trying to solve a crime. Clark Stewart's been murdered, but we don't know who by. Stabbed in the back. Was it his new lover who's trying to make it as a star? Was it a director who's angry at him for unknown reasons? Was it the son of the director who seems nice but has questionable sweaters on? What is the reason? What is the why? It wasn't me, I didn't do it, says Skjarm. Well, lucky for you, you've only just appeared, and you've come with alibis, so you're okay. I think we should search the suspect